already doing the podcast.
Yes, we are.
So
we're never not doing the podcast.
All that changes is someone claps and then it's official.
And then people can view it.
And video starts now.
Yeah. So bizarrely enough, we've had a number of people say, "Oh, you guys should do longer conversations on the Reacts."
Yeah, we did that.
Fun fact.
The Reacts have taken off, and they're like, "Wow, you guys should do like a podcast type thing." Oh, you mean the 90 episodes of the Remy Show that are already on this channel?
Yeah.
That no one watched, that no one asked for?
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to know more about me. They want to know more about. They want to know who Kevin is. Like,
They got to scroll down.
who's the guy behind the camera?
Nobody
Like, I don't know. He wasn't on camera for 150 hours or anything.
150 hours where he's literally sitting in the middle.
Yep.
Talking
You can
about
see
my
his
wild
face the
theories
whole
of the
time.
world.
Yeah, we did one reacts on a person named Lily Lou recently. Mm-hmm. Very interesting character. I'm not going to get too far into that, but everyone was like, "Oh, you really got into your philosophy a lot on this one. It's kind of nice to see you guys open up." It's like, oh boy, you want to see us open up? You'll be asking for us to close up after that.
We are way too personal in all this other content.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the things that I've worried about like YouTube getting popular is like, if anyone ever goes through all those podcasts, I feel like I could be canceled at some point.
Probably.
There's probably something damning
If you
in
can't
there.
be canceled, you're not making mistakes. It means you're not making risks.
But,
Taking
like-
risks. Whatever those words are.
I don't even remember some of the conversations we had. I had a pretty good grip on that when we were doing them every week.
Really?
Like, I had a
I'd never.
contingency. There was a bit of a storyline in my mind of like who the characters on the show are and like the topics we've discussed, and
Scott's jobs.
there was some kind of yeah, exactly. There was like some running gags and continuity. But like when you take a step back from like I said, like 150 hours of talking, it's like, wow, that's a lot of mush. I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
I would get home at night and Ron asked how my day was and say, "Oh, I did a podcast this morning. It was a good time. Oh, yeah. What'd you talk about?" I don't know.
No idea.
At
A whole
all.
bunch of
Not
gobbledygook.
a clue.
Yeah, even when I see the reacts afterwards, I'm like watching all these things that apparently we said, and
Yeah.
it's all surprising to me.
There's a few good Kevin lines in there that I remember. There's one where we were reviewing one tattoo. We'll say it was a nice tattoo.
Yep.
And you said, "I'm pretty sure the guy who did this tattoo died in a meth lab explosion."
That good of a tattoo, eh?
Yeah, it's pretty.
What makes you so sure there's a reference?
Yeah.
The koala bear one.
Yeah, as long as I don't have to tattoo my anus, I think that's the one that I like the most.
Yeah, you have some good biting lines.
Yeah, you know,
But,
I'm here for the quips.
Yeah, it's been interesting, the YouTube taking off.
Yeah.
And like I always think like I almost need, like I want to do podcasts, don't get me wrong. Like I like the idea of podcasting, but I just don't think it takes off.
I mean, it's a big investment in time.
And it's a saturated market.
Yeah, now people are starting to, like there's a lane opening up where I could potentially be doing interviews with like other people. We were talking about this yesterday, potentially like other tattooed like phenomenon type people that like the really interesting like special attraction type tattoo people, like Lily Lou, for example. And it's like, part of me is like, would anybody watch it though?
Dude, they're watching the React stuff, and we are always very
But
confused
it's like
about that.
all of a sudden I want to do 3-hour talks.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And we have 3-second attention spans and buzz clips. And
Full Lex Friedman versions of things.
Sure.
It's not impossible to break into that market, but right now, if you look at the up-and-comers that are breaking into the market with force, they're working on $1 million budgets, right? They're walking in with business plans and loans from banks or private funders.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, let's start $1 million podcast in Lethbridge.
God.
I just
That's
can't
gonna go
imagine
great.
a real official professional
I
person
know.
talking to us like, we're going to get the Remy Show on the air. It's
Yeah.
like, what? Why? Why would we do that?
No
All
idea
those
how
people
ragtag
you
we are.
hire would now be your boss.
Well, and considering the fact that a lot of the time during this podcast we have audio problems and camera
Yeah.
problems.
That's why you spend $1
Be
million.
having
dollars.
It could be happening right now.
Yeah, who knows?
It's like, I wouldn't be investing too heavily in this program. Kevin looks so
I'm seriously like, I
nervous.
want to go
checking.
check the camera now.
Part of that funding has to go toward hardware, though.
Well, I would hope so.
That would fix some of
So
that.
a little bit of infrastructure.
and those big podcasts have a guy sitting over there on a computer going, "Oh yeah,
Young
you're good,
Kevin?
Yeah.
young Kevin."
Suddenly Kevin gets a pay raise and he's off the camera. He's been replaced with
that.
another guy who looks a little bit like him,
Yeah, I got a brother.
right? he talks and acts a little bit like him, but everything's just a little off. It's the new Remy Show with Alan. It's close enough, okay?
where I
And
got
once an
canceled.
episode, Alan looks into the camera and goes, "Psychedelics are bad."
Yeah.
But then-
no.
It gets too the production gets too good because all of a sudden then it's like all the inside jokes, we're all too well aware of them.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden it's like Scott comes in, I got a new job, guys. You know, it's like,
Scrolling text, Scott's new job.
yeah, tell us about your new job, Scott.
Well, now we've ruined it. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. It
Jump
gets
the
too on the nose. That's
A
what I
little
always
bit,
worry
yeah.
about big money getting involved in things, because all of a sudden it's like people really like it when you talk about this thing. Talk about this more.
Oh yeah, no, I would never. You can't do that.
No.
That's like that type of influence. Like you're paying to tell me what to do. Ooh, I don't like that anymore.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do with any of that. I would feel, even when I had a boss at my other job, I didn't really have a boss. Like my bosses were like peers. Like I was my own boss in my area, and so they would just let me do it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think they even knew, like, if they imposed on me, it would be a bit of a deal breaker. So it was like kind of the Wild West in that way.
Yeah.
I've never really had somebody like pulling my straps or like lashing out on me. Like I've never had that influence of like having to work for someone and do it exactly the way they want, and you're accountable to them. You have to check in with them forever. Like I've always just been the guy, and I don't even know how I would do if I like what I would do with a boss.
I learned a fun fact recently. There are 30 million slaves on this planet
No.
today.
Why would you say fun?
Yeah.
fact?
Well,
yeah, it's not
That's
fun
not
at all.
fun.
I
No.
Jesus.
I feel absolutely terrible for them because I couldn't. I mean, I
No,
could do it.
that's a horrible life.
We
There's a
could all
reason-
do it.
There's a reason it's illegal in most countries.
I would hope so.
Yeah. So like I can't even have a boss. I can't imagine being a slave.
Dude, no kidding. Yeah.
Right? Like
Sometimes I still get all woe is me, even though I have like the dopest little setup at the dopest little tattoo shop doing the dopest thing of all time.
well, we have these first world problems we can do nothing about. But
Yeah.
like I seen when we were reviewing the Lulu thing, and they had those people like the 4 back piece and the 10 back piece, and I was thinking, I'm too fucking independent for that. Can you imagine going, oh, well, it looks like something when all my bros are with me? Because like the Lily Lou famously has done multiple person bodysuits that they bring them together and it says love on their back or whatever the hell, right?
Wow.
But like if you've just got one letter otherwise, so you've got a big L on your back or whatever the fuck.
It's like when you go to one of those like an NFL game or whatever, and all you and your boys paint your chests.
Yeah,
with
but only
letters.
forever.
Yeah, exactly.
And what happens if you get in a fight with one of these
Yeah,
assholes?
what happens if you're not standing exactly together?
It's like, oh, fuck that guy. But we still have L, V, and E.
What's
but-
vol?
Yeah. The other guy, we had to take him out back and kill him. He was a dick.
85 years old. Grandpa, what's that tattoo mean? It means all my friends are dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really. I mean,
I can't, like,
go all
I'm-
out in a blaze of glory together.
like wherever I am, no matter what job I'm in or what world, like, country I'm living in, like, I always want to be me. And I
Well, I
don't want
think-
that to be tethered to too
Hate
much.
to break it to you, no matter where you are ever,
Yeah.
you are always you.
Some people don't think so.
Oh, they're idiots.
They're like, oh, well, if I could move somewhere else, I'd have a completely different existence.
No,
and then they end
that's
up
not
doing
true.
the same job and having the same
If
problems.
you're gonna have a different existence, that means you are not you.
Well, I had a
You
buddy who
are
was,
some sort of puppet that's happening at that time.
it's like the only things that are making my life suck are external.
Yeah.
I need to change something and then I'll be
Right,
happier.
right.
Yeah, no. If I've thought of anything that Buddhism has got right, it's external doesn't really matter. You
To
gotta be
some
internal.
degree it does, though.
Sure.
Oh, it changes.
about-
It
think-
changes lots of things.
Sure.
But in the end, you can be unhappy anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
What if
it's
you
all in
really
your
hate
rela-
the
it's-
sun, so you move somewhere with rain?
I mean, you could be allergic to the sun. That sucks. But again, Stoic would say it's all in how you deal with it.
of course, Stoic would say, here's one. External is a bit of a funny word, though, right? So, like, you're still at the same shop, but you're tattooing now.
Yes.
So is that external or an internal change?
External.
You think?
That's a big environment change.
Yeah. Not.
Yeah.
There's nothing changes
The-
internally about the work.
If you
or-
go to a hospital and you do surgery as a surgeon,
Yeah.
or you go to a hospital and you do janitorial work, or no, that's actually not bad work. You do something really crappy, like you're
janitorial
changing
pays-
bedpans all day long, every day. That's your only job. Your external input is super different. Therefore, your perception of the world will be super different, even though you're working in a very similar proximity to that surgeon.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you can be in the same shop, and now you have a different job. Does that change anything about how you are as a person?
Me, no. But my lens, okay, so I look at it this way. Like, you've got this viewer, right? And then you've got the lens that you look through. And the lens can look at different things. You know what I mean? So it's like, but it's still being viewed by the viewer. So yeah, I'm looking at different things, you know what I mean? And therefore it's going to spark different reactions. Like the thing that I've had to get used to is just like, I'm exhausted at the end of days. Like at the end of the day, I'm tired because apparently I didn't have to focus very hard on any of my jobs ever.
But I think you'll get used to that.
Yeah. But like, I'm still me.
Like,
at the end of the day, I'm just tired.
That's one where when I would go over to the other job, I'm done now, but like I would go for the Tuesday, and like there was the last busy day we had there, I was finding myself coming up short. Where like the guy that I trained for years, he was like my favorite protege, Vince.
Yeah.
He came on to help because it was a parade day Tuesday, so they figured it would be busy, so they bring in a strong cook to help us out. And I said to him right when he got there, I was like, "You're just here to see my decline." I was like, "You're just here to see if I've lost a step."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh no, Jer, I'm here because you have lost a step."
Ruthless.
And then at the end of the day, he says to me, he's like, "Oh, by the way, I can tell you haven't been busy in a while." And like, for me, I was proud of him.
Yeah.
Because that's how I would have been to him.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I would have been that snarky. And it was also like, thank God I'm leaving soon because he's not wrong. Like, we're doing this fast pace. Like, I was trucked. Like, I felt like I'd been hit by a car because I don't do that all the time anymore. Right? And it is way more work than what I do. I don't do that here.
Yeah.
You know what I do here.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it's leisurely.
Yes,
right?
it is.
This is a leisurely environment.
Yeah.
You go over there and you're like, mentally, I could still do all the steps. I haven't mentally lost anything, but
No.
physically, it's like
You just want to do it at a saunter.
I'm less flexible and less quick, and it's just not. I don't have the muscle memory I once had because some things changed, and it was just like everything was just like, oh,
You've gone
Christ.
out to stud.
I think if I
that how
went
it
back
works?
for a few weeks, I'd be back to normal. But like, if you don't do
Probably.
something all the time, and you haven't built a tolerance for it, it's draining.
Yeah.
That's where I think you're at, where you're like, I'm tired all the time. But I'm like, I bet Scott isn't tired all the time.
No, probably not.
I also work way less now.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I know you
went
do,
the other
but
way. We're like,
but
going
like-
from like 6-7 days
okay.
a week to being like. yeah,
thanks
I'll
for
work.
ruining my example.
Okay, I do have actual thoughts on the energy curve
Let me
thing.
fucking ruin this.
Getting
for me.
used
you
to
know-
leisurely.
Like yesterday, I did an upper arm. It took me like 5 hours, let's say. At the end of the day, yeah, there's an hour where I'm like still feeling that old school. Oh my God, I'm not going to make it. But then I get
creepy.
home, and after an hour, I kind of stretch that out, and I'm back to normal.
Yeah, yeah.
So the drain is way less than it was,
Oh,
let's
you've
say,
done
a
your
year
reps,
ago.
you know?
Yeah, doing lots of reps.
Yeah, I remember I have so much more empathy for watching all tattooers, but like I remember there was a time where you were like just wiped,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
I was just like I didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I really didn't like. I still feel kind of bad as to how I looked at tattooers. It was just one of those, why don't you just tattoo more? I don't get it.
Yeah,
You're having so much fun
you're
drawing
always-
on people.
You're always pulling that. It's like
I would never think that. I've been
last-
around too many broken horses. I've been around Rick too long.
Oh, that was another thing. Like when I started getting after a long day of work, I would get home and I'd be like, man, I could drink right now.
Yeah.
Like that was like literally one of those things. Like, oh, I could get drunk and that would help a lot. It's one of those like,
You
oh,
were
shit.
telling me like the taste just cued you up right
Oh
away.
man, I did it one time where it was like some bourbon, and I was like, "Oh no, this isn't good."
because it's not
No,
just
no,
the like,
it's too
oh,
good.
I'm tired, I could nap. It's like, no, I'm depleted
Yeah.
spiritually
Yeah,
and emotionally.
everything is out
Yeah.
of me, and I need to just
Like
numb.
last June, for example, I was working like 6 days a fucking week.
Oh, I know.
And the whole apprentice versus
Oh, yeah,
abusive
all of that-
relationship
all of
thing,
that thing.
all of that stuff was happening, and I'm just like coming in here every day like. There's nothing left.
Oh, yeah.
It's all gone.
I get
I'm a
it. It's
withered
not a good way to live your
prune.
life.
No, it was a bad way to live my life. I mean, we all saw how it ended. In the end, I turned out to hate my situation here.
But that being said, it actually kind of ended smooth.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I think the right before the ending was was rougher than the actual end.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And looking back now, it's all smooth and easy,
Yeah,
and all the steps seem obvious. And I look back and go, well, it makes sense. I felt that way.
Yeah.
It wasn't as extreme as it did feel.
I think it made sense.
Obviously,
Never is,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
when
I
you're
think
in
it kind
it's just
of,
like
from
pressure.
what I could perceive, made sense to everyone, really.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it was one of those,
okay.
okay, well,
Yeah,
this is about par for the course we're on here. Which is, I think, the best result you can have.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean, if it makes sense to everybody, then it's just one of those like, okay.
Yeah.
Like a big, violent, messy departure from anything always feels bad later.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I've never gone, I'm so happy that fell apart that way.
Oh man, I've had some though where that's exactly
Yeah.
what happens, and I'm stoked about it because like I feel like it was earned. Like I've had to fire some people back in my old job, and it was one of those like that was so cathartic.
See, I always feel
Closure.
like
Yeah, it was like I needed that. You know what I mean?
referentially, like, oh man, that could have gone better. Like when I fuck something up hard, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but like I've fucking, like, you know, where you kill something and then you know, put gasoline on it, light it on
Yeah,
fire,
buddy.
and you're like,
Are we talking literal?
no, but like it's already dead, man. What are you doing? Like you're going back for a second round now. Like you're really
hitting that
driving
horse.
it into the ground, and then you're like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
I don't feel good about that. It's
Well,
like
I mean, you never do.
it was
Like,
always
it's like-
it was an end anyway. You didn't have to make an ass of yourself.
In retrospect, there are a few things in my life I wish I had have burnt them down harder.
Yeah, I
right.
get that.
There's a few things I left that I let them go on too long. I kind of like nice guy.
I could have been worse there.
I nice
No,
guy
seriously,
people
though.
pleased my way through.
'cause, like,
and
especially
looking
in
back,
Canada-
fuck all those people.
Yeah, it's
fuck
like,
fuck
no,
that
burn
chick
it.
making my life crazy.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah, exactly.
6
Well,
months
it's the way
sooner.
to take your
I'm
balls
the fuck
back,
out of
right?
here.
Because
Yeah.
then you're
Yeah.
like, you get your confidence from that.
They
That's
call that
right.
righteous anger. You know, every once in a while, you're like, yeah, I could have done some righteous anger.
Yeah,
there. that would have been nice.
I could have fucking. I knew what I had to do back then. I could have pulled that pin, blown it up, and instead of it ending when it did, kind of smooth and bullshit, it could have been over.
Emphatic.
Aftercare could have been done, and I could have been there months sooner.
I think what I've learned with that though is like there's a point of reasonable force.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'll because for a long time for me doing that, I would always use everything in me to do the job.
Right.
And then I would be like, oh, I fucking went down with it.
That's called your 20s, bro.
Yeah. And then later in life, it's figuring out the appropriate amount of force for each
Yeah.
job.
Yeah, I think in
right.
your 20s, you've got unlunlimited force.
Well, in your
In
20s,
your 30s,
You
you're
got
like,
no
I only
sight
got
of the
some.
future.
everything
Yeah,
feels
literally.
big.
I don't
so
have to live with this.
You use violence of action
Yeah.
in everything you do.
Yeah, you're an extremist when you're in your 20s.
Yeah.
Everything has to
Yeah,
happen this way.
definitely. I mean, I'm always going to be a little bit of an extremist.
You don't say.
But like, well, emotionally, I've become much more rational.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Like even since I've taken in like coming in here instead of being in the other place, like the way that I deal with people, I feel like has become a little more moderate and
Welcome to the Remy Show, where Jeremy has talked about his feelings until he improved as a human.
Weird,
yeah,
right?
seriously.
Yeah.
Well, but everyone
Also
here is more.
psychedelics.
Everyone here is more rational.
Yeah.
So when I got in here at first, I was
Well,
Yeah.
like, rational might not be the best.
how
word.
bad was the kitchen?
You're dealing with the same people, but they're at higher stress
Because
Yeah,
I dealt with
that's
some
fair.
irrational.
lower ego. Like that's the big, because I do compare it a lot, and I've told Lee this too. It's like I'm dealing with the same human beings, but here's the difference: the same human beings go for both job.
Yeah.
Okay, but then while they're at that spot, the cook gets his ego smashed repeatedly and gets told he's a piece of shit, and over here it's like every customer that comes in is jerking the tattooer
Yeah,
off.
yeah, exactly.
Oh my god,
All
you're
of our egos
fantastic!
get
Oh my
just
goodness,
coddled
you are
and
the best.
tickled.
Did you know what a mastermind you are? Holy shit! You just made this, and like that's
This
why
is the greatest thing in the world because it's on me.
I tell everyone here too. Like, customers drunk.
Yeah, oh yeah,
The
yeah.
customers on drugs.
Yeah.
Like they're leaving with endorphins, like fucking, like
Yeah.
adrenaline, like
Yeah.
woohoo! I'm done. Woo! This is
Yeah,
amazing.
And like we have to actively combat
You have
like
to.
embracing that ego
Yeah.
like massage that we get every day.
Or
It's almost
lean
like if you
into it.
Yeah, or you could lean into it. Yeah. That's also possible.
Could you point that
I,
way?
Yes.
Right, I am
Yes,
the
you did.
greatest. I am the greatest ever. It's amazing.
Every one of my clients is telling me the truth.
They're all right.
Unabashed truth.
I am the best.
I am.
So I actually have an example of this perfectly. I was at a festival last weekend, And Sunday, we're like kind of starting to tear things down, starting to wind it up. And there's this one chick who was one of the original founders of this festival, and she's sitting there in our camp because we kind of have this camp on top of the hill because we're security. And she looks at me and she goes, "I just put it all together. You're the genius. You're the genius. You're the genius who's been tattooing all your friends."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Oh, what a way to start a conversation."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can only let you down from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything I say is going to downplay this.
Hey, you're God, right?
The minute she finds out you're in any way not perfect, it's already over.
Hey,
Right?
deity. Let's
Yeah,
talk.
exactly. You are literal Jesus, and go.
Do everything to impress me now.
To get
Let me
back
heal
to,
you. Here's some
I was just
Aquaphor.
going to go check that, To get back
Oh,
to
I
my
locked
little
Go
point
check that.
of we good to go? I don't want to fuck this up now. My little detour of people here are more reasonable, and you said, is that right? How bad was the kitchen? What I mean to say is, like, the stress level is of a level where you can have a conversation with someone.
Oh, yeah.
Where there it's like immediate sound bites. That's all you got. Like, it has to be quick and clear. There's almost never a time where you can break something down. Like, there's almost never a time for a backroom conversation.
Oh, no,
I feel like tattooing is internal anxiety.
Yeah,
and kitchen
of course.
is external
Of course.
anxiety.
Yeah,
there's kind of this like two sides of a similar coin, but they still exhibit quite differently.
Yeah, so
Almost opposite.
my thing has been, when I got in here, I wasn't even sure how I was ever going to bring up a problem to anyone.
Oh, yeah.
Because anytime you would bring up a problem to someone where I've been working my whole life, it was war. It was immediate war.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like the kitchen is battle. I feel
Oh,
like you guys
always.
are in battle every day.
Always, every day.
This is not battle.
And I got so good at that I knew those rules so well, right? And so when I came in here, I was working with that as like a what
mentality.
And even just calling people, rescheduling appointments and stuff, I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking.
Yeah, you were ready for war.
Yeah, every time. Every single thing that would happen, I was like, this is. And now I've been in this environment for a little while, and I'm like, oh, it's pretty relaxed. Like, we're not going for each other's throats here.
No.
There's been a couple times with all the COVID lockdowns and things. Oh no, we're getting canceled now. Shit.
Yeah.
That's
it for
Kevin
us.
was like, "You're really gonna try to do this and call them and reschedule that?" And I was like, "Nah, man. I'm the artist. If I call them and tell them what's up, they have no choice but to be like, okay,
Yeah.
what do I have to do?"
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
They have to make you happy.
They have to make me happy.
Because otherwise you get to say, like, okay, well, we're not doing it.
Otherwise,
so see you later.
I guess we don't need to work together then. Bummer.
Crazy.
Well,
I'll
that's the
fill your
thing.
spot,
Sometimes you
though.
do prefer
Yeah.
to hear from the artist.
I'm keeping your deposit.
Because, like,
3 magic words.
there are people that are sick of hearing from me. Like,
Yeah.
there are some customers that are sick of hearing from me already.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, they don't want to deal, like, and so there are some people where now it's like, and this, I know you did this too with Rick, where it's like, you really better talk to this person.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because they're not going to fucking want to hear from me.
Well, like, you get to be the bad guy.
Yeah.
You get to be the punching bag immediately. It's one of those, like, that's...
I'm kind of good at that, though.
Oh,
I've been
I know.
used to that.
Yeah. I mean, I was good at it, too. It's like, good luck trying to get mad at me. Good luck. Try your best. But, like, yeah, no, as the artists, we're the angel in the background. That's always good.
So you're working less. How much are you working now? know
Probably
your
an
schedule
average.
was.
Probably an average of 3.5 days a week.
That's what I thought.
Either working 3 or 4 days a week.
You kind of keep those days open, and then it's like, well, if I want to do more, I can.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The more I think about it, I think that's like to stay sane with large scale.
Oh,
I think
man.
that's like the way to do
Especially in the summer, dude. Like in the summer, I always try to cram so much stuff in, and like I've had like other life circumstances that aren't definitely bad, but they just take time, they take energy, they take some
focus.
stress, they take some effort, some focus. So I guess the big tell is I switched to 3 days a week for like probably like a month back in April, and I still felt like busy and wound up.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not that I shouldn't be doing 3 days a week. It's that I'm overdue for 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Let's slow the fuck down, catch a bit of sanity, take my time. It's okay if I feel a little bit less efficient, a little bit less productive. You got to do that sometimes.
Yeah, you got
That's
to
important.
figure out a way of keeping your sanity.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Yep.
I mean, I always think that it takes, like, I know that, like, biologically it takes some time. Like, I think there's, like, a 90 days or something like that your body goes through. But, like, you know, I usually think, like, 6 to 8 weeks before you actually feel change, whatever that is. It's
You like detoxing.
Yeah.
It has to
Yeah.
get out of your system.
Yeah, because otherwise you've gotten there from extended effort in an area.
That's
So it's
right.
like you've got that momentum keeping you there. You won't really feel the deceleration for a while.
You didn't overwhelm and get to this place of burnout in a week.
Yeah.
It took
No,
months
that-
to get to here. It's
I
not
was
going to
thinking
just wash
Especially
away.
if you've done it a few times, you get a longer and longer fuse.
And
right?
I did it really bad once in my life. To do some really crazy external circumstances, work related up north, and now, my threshold is way freaking lower. And when I see the signs, I start to let's dial this back a little bit.
Where I start getting where any little thing that someone, like one of my loved ones, will need from me, it feels taxing and but then I'm also in the moment going, I should be able to do this for them though. Like, this is a really small
It
ask.
doesn't seem like
But it seems
break me.
like a huge fucking problem in that. Like, yeah, why don't you need something, motherfucker? I haven't asked you for something in days. It's like, get off my back, you fucking parasite. It's like, I'm your wife, right? I just asked you to.
Poor Sarah listening to this.
Well, fuck it. I don't. Maybe I won't say that thing in particular, but it's
You just said
it gets to that point.
Say
of,
too late now.
It gets to that point where any little thing that imposes on this structure it's a card house at best.
Yeah.
Right. When every minute of your time is monopolized,
Which
it's
is why you don't have two jobs.
that's where I was at for quite a long time.
Yeah.
He says currently working his second job.
Yeah,
This is
this one
technically
doesn't
a second
feel
job,
like
but-
Exactly.
This one doesn't feel.
Just
like
don't tell the government that.
Yeah. Don't tell the government that.
Oh,
no.
they're already telling the government that.
Are you getting taxed?
That's
you
the
paying
best.
taxes
There's
on this?
some tax.
Oh, good.
It wasn't
they
enough
passed that
last
thing,
year.
Man. It's getting reported directly to them.
Last year wasn't much. This year will be.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
actually, this is not a brag, and I'm not big dick swinging. Don't get me wrong. Last month, the YouTube channel made $13.80.
You.
So that's money.
Yeah, that's
like
money.
that's
Of course,
actual
yeah.
money. That's
Yeah.
fucking real
You
money.
be buying your real cameras soon.
Ah.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
We'll have to have real people watching the podcast before I care about
okay,
that.
okay.
For what most people who watch the podcast are like, 45-year-old dudes and like guys screwing around in their basements and like you know what I mean? Like they're the weird.
I don't know what you mean.
Yes, no.
Come on, Kevin. Come on. He knows what I mean. This guy knows. He
I
knows.
listen to podcasts.
He knows what I
don't
mean.
even have a
Hey, Scott,
basement.
this guy knows. No, but like it's not a broad appeal.
No,
I don't
guess not.
expect. I think people will watch like, hey, look at this. Remy's doing a podcast, and then 3 minutes. I'll look at my back end, and it'll be like 70% of viewers were still watching after the first minute and a half.
And honestly,
doing that thing again. All right, see you later.
our best case scenario for like mankind and human culture, honestly, is that everyone gets the fuck off podcasts and goes to audiobooks anyway.
But those
like-
are just podcasts, but one-sided. Oh, it's a one-sided podcast.
Yeah, but it's a whole series of
They're
information.
asking their own questions.
I don't know if I
expand it.
agree. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
I'm. I
disagree
want to
strongly
be
with
somewhere in
that.
the middle on this one.
See, I agree that audiobooks are
I've done
necessary.
both though.
So my only issue that I've noticed is like I heard Louis C.K. talk about this. It was one of those like
Man, he's gotten old looking.
yeah, I know.
Holy crap! That guy aged like 30 years in like a year.
Yeah. Well, so what he was talking about is he was saying that there's certain things that in our minds they immediately earn more value than we should be giving them. Written form is one. Anything that you would have to be like an audiobook, all of a sudden audiobook has more relevance than a podcast. You could say the same things within the podcast form if you wanted to, but since it's an audiobook, we've given it a classification that in a hierarchy we give it more credence than
All of a
maybe
sudden,
it's
this is a
due.
professor instead of the guy across the
It's
road.
like, oh, they wrote a book.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it is
Oh
hard
my
to
God.
write a book.
Because it is one of those things where you can purchase a level of you can purchase a level.
Think about
of,
it though, Kevin, because I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Play that.
We're doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Right? You think we have any business doing an audiobook?
No.
Who's
But-
gonna listen
So
to it?
I'm making a point right now, right?
Yeah.
I'm making a point that you both can critique and
Yeah.
make it and refine.
I've
Whereas,
got at
like,
least one good comeback, or not good comeback, one good point to add on to what you're saying right
So
now.
say I didn't have you two in this room right now, and say
Just
I was able
talking
to
verbatim.
ask my questions to myself and provide my answers, and then print it, and I have no have no input of information from external parties that might have different perspectives that might be able to refine said ideas. That's the element that I think may be dangerous in terms of people that are in a vacuum spouting off nonsense. And since they're in the ability to just be within their own echo chamber, and then they get to purchase well, you get to purchase some authority in the label of a book. Right? It's just like, oh, they made a book, so therefore they have some level of authority. And I don't think that's... I think that's one of the systems that we need to address in our minds.
Like some people, yeah.
Yeah, here, I've got something for this, actually. It sounds to me like you're concerned with people's ability to pick a decent book.
Well,
right?
so most people aren't...
Because, yes, if we're talking about picking books based on the coronavirus, yeah, good luck finding a non-biased book with useful information in it, right? They're all going to be biased one way or another.
It will come out even if it takes a while.
However, what I'm seeing in society right now, and this is, again, bullshit, Scott's opinion, people don't have context. People need to be reading anthropology and history and some of these more hard sciences, some of these things that are more, universally accepted concepts, less argued, biased things, more broad general concepts helps us understand how we got here. Right now, what I'm seeing is a lot of people are really pissed off and confused, and they don't understand how we got to this place. Because once you read the history on the subject, once you read how these various types of governments and various governments were formed, and how revolutions have actually gone down in the past, and how cultures do change and have changed, people might get a little more work together attitude, or a little more context, a little more basis and foundation for their individial beliefs.
Certainly, I obviously.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's how you pick a book.
I do think, though, there's certain people that'll be able to do that, and there's certain people that won't.
We've gone over this before in other ways.
Yeah.
This is the huckster thing again.
Yeah.
We need a charismatic.
Okay.
Almost like we need a good cover for this book.
Well, like anytime something's getting sold to you, I immediately question it. Like anytime somebody's selling me on anything, I have to be skeptical of it because I tend to drift towards the skeptical. But like the thing that I'm saying is like part of sales is what you are selling. Right. So it's like if you're selling a book, that has more credence than selling a podcast currently. I totally get that. And
well, yeah.
Because you would hope that the person behind the book has done all those things that you're talking about, right? We assume a lot of greatness just simply because they're in a position that has put them in a book. Like it's kind of like if you're a doctor. Like we saw lots of different types of doctors over the last few years. And now it's one of those like just because you have that label of doctor doesn't necessarily mean that you've done all the things to make it.
Remember
so that
we were talking. We just did that reacts to that clown dude, right?
Yeah.
And he's verified.
Yeah.
So that now he's an official person.
Yeah.
Right. So just having that blue check makes a big difference.
Well, we assume it makes a big difference.
I know
because we've given it authority.
It's that mainstream. Like, oh, this person is a real person. Yeah. We should listen to this person because they did this thing, right? But if some other bozo is telling you the same thing, well, he doesn't have a blue check.
Yeah, he's not a blue check. He doesn't have the authority.
We're doing the same thing here. Like it's the mainstream versus non-mainstream. Yeah. Like if you have a certified human being writing a book, it means more than if Scott or Kevin writes the same book.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if the same information's in there.
But it does, like me writing that book does mean more than me doing a podcast on that book.
Yeah, but at the same time, like,
on that topic or whatever.
You could write that book, but if no one knows who the fuck you are, no one's going to take it as
clout.
No, but they're also not going to take it as gospel. But
hopefully,
if all of a sudden some scientist writes the same thing, and he's got some degree or some other thing, it's like now it means something coming from him.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's anything to make it like dehumanize, right? Like anything to make it so that like whatever that person is now is more than human.
It's not about what's in the book.
Yeah, exactly. Because like you can view things separate and just look at them as information, and but like we tend to like structures, and our brain feels better with authority figures. And when someone's talking, we want to feel like we believe them, and therefore they have to tick all these other boxes. It's scary.
Can I level this up one more step?
Sure.
Do it.
So, better yet. So we've gone from podcast, okay, a lot of personal opinion, kind of shorter version of stuff, right? You really get teeny snippets of a topic, really. Then you go to audiobook. Okay, now you're getting more broad selection, more intentional selection of your topic, more intentional selection of your authors. Now, from there, you can level up to lecture series. So we've gotten a lot lately into great courses. And this is where you're listening to a PhD professor delivering an entire course, essentially, 18 to 36 hours of lecture series to you. And now...
But you just did exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You said lecture, better than book. But
Yep.
you said PhD professor, better than all those things. So it's one of those things that, like, yes, I understand, and that should warrant a better
here's
result.
the difference. It's rare to find a biased lecture. Most...
not.
Hold on. Okay.
No, it's not. 100% not.
It's rare to find a biased lecture if you're intentionally looking for unbiased lectures. Right?
Nope.
Well, everything has bias in it.
There you go.
However, when you're in the history of Eastern Europe, there are certain things that are facts as far as the human knowledge goes.
So in a strange time, no one believes in
Sort of.
facts.
Yeah,
That's
apparently.
the thing that sucks.
This
Is
is
like,
the thing.
yes, because
my
we have,
truth is my truth.
we have that, but then all of a sudden now we don't have that too, because we have like
I
these
want you
weird
to
random.
I want
things
you to
that we
listen to some of these great courses and then get back to me on this
No,
subject.
I will agree. With
He
Yeah.
doesn't have time. He's doing yoga. He's watching shows. At
I'm
the hour.
overcommitting myself to all things.
Every
Remember-
time a
remember when
customer
Kevin
comes in
said
here,
there's
he
limited
takes another
time?
spot of his calendar.
So this is the thing that I struggle with. Yes, I can. I'm sure I will hear them and I'll be like, "Fuck yeah!"
Yeah.
But I am me. I will hear it the way that I will hear it. Right. I can't say that will happen for everybody. What I'm
that
saying
whole
is we don't-
beauty is in the eye of the beholder to some
like, 'cause
degree.
there's a good swath of people that will see the things that you just said and say that is all lies because of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're built in those structures and therefore they have to be lies. I have to listen to this guy because he's not in those structures.
Everybody has
Right.
enough of a foundation built up in their own beliefs that they
Exactly.
can repel whatever they don't want to hear.
So psychedelics, because like say okay, because like you've got we all have things that make us feel like they're correct. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like you know we engage with something and it'll strike a nerve with us in a way that it makes us feel a way, and then therefore it hits the necessary things for us to be okay with it. But like that all is technically our own ego, right? Mm-hmm. Like technically to reaffirm whatever it is that we believe at that point. So I seriously don't see things changing without more deconstruction of an ego within our society. Because like I don't mean to pick apart what you're saying, but I've heard the counter argument to all of those things that then those people will then use in whatever way they feel necessary, and it can get really, really divided. Yeah. So it's one of those like how do you make it so that then we could even the playing field of how we engage with information?
But here's the trick. First, we have to change that appetite. Right now, people are just going on and watching Two Bears, One Cave talk about
funny.
horse shit. Talk about horse shit.
You're not wrong about the horse shit.
And they're throwing out their completely uneducated opinions.
Well, it's just for entertainment.
Yes.
I would consider
Or-
that like just like comedy podcast.
So now, how about
Well,
we?
I mean, this is what we're doing this for entertainment.
But
This is
now
not-
you slap in a book on classic philosophy,
sure.
or political philosophy, or on European history, or the history of communism.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, people are building context and starting to understand. And because there are people right now running around talking about how the states is turning to a fascism, blah, blah, blah. And actually, there are signs, yes, in a real way, in a real series of markers, there is some signs. However, it's not what people are talking about on podcasts. To see the signs for real, you kind of have to you have to go to the next level. You got to dig a little bit deeper if you're going to see which things are actually signs and which way it's actually going.
So now you're blanketing that.
Yeah, big
as
time.
in all podcasts, but like say Lex, he's not doing that.
No, Lex is doing pretty great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I
But
would
it's-
say
it's still
his
just
Podcast
snippets-
is just a medium.
Yeah, I would say
it's whatever you want it to be,
I
right?
would say what Lex is doing is kind of what I would hope from a podcast, which is like, say you've got someone that has information on a subject, and you have someone with a different perspective able to poke holes or just prod in a way that the average reader can't. You know what I mean? Because like if I'm
He does
sitting
his
there,
best to be unbiased.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I want the average reader to, instead of eating dessert all the time, to eat the steak and potatoes so that they can poke the holes in everything. Because there's holes in everything. And that's what you're getting at here, is that there are holes in everything.
Yeah.
And to be strong enough to see the holes for real, we don't need someone showing us the holes, because them showing us the holes is them also putting their bias into the situation.
So you're saying this as everyone?
Fucking preferably.
But
if we
like,
could
okay.
stop watching Stranger Things, which I love,
So
and I'm watching right now.
Do you think that all doctors
fourth
should
season
be
wasn't bad.
neurosurgeons?
God, no.
Why?
Specialty's important.
Wait, back up. What did you say?
Well, do you think all doctors should be brain surgeons?
Yeah, we definitely don't need all of them doing that.
But this is like
We have-
so.
we should all be specializing in something.
Yeah.
I feel
Okay,
like.
so what you're talking about?
Try and
is
be an expert at
specializing.
something, but go. I think
like-
people should know they're not the best at everything, but have a little bit in everything, and then do one thing really well. I think that's the best. I don't think you can be good at everything. How can you know everything at one person?
So you're bringing me to the exact logical hole that you were trying to run away from here, in that I'm trying to say we should replace some of these more light and floaty short-term things.
You want it
with
a little heavier.
with a little bit heavier, and replace some of the junk food, right? Replace some of the junk food, get a little bit of heavier stuff, so there is more power of discerning. If you watch
getcha.
enough philosophy and history, you're going to be watching things and pick holes in it left, right, and center.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, hopefully.
Yeah. How many times was I sitting here and Rogan's talking shit that I actually have done lots of reading
Let me
and
tell you,
research
like
on, and I'm going,
what
no,
he's
this
talking
is
about
horseshit."
is something that happened when I was young. I think I have a very good vocabulary. I'm not bragging, but that didn't come from me wanting to read books. It came from me playing video games and reading storylines in video games. I also got really good at math because there was a lot of like, you hit a boss for this much damage. How much HP does he have left? You're learning math all the time. You're not even thinking about it. Seriously, like that's me and my brothers. We basically raised ourselves. Our parents weren't around much. We played video games like all the time.
Yeah.
And it was that I was learning math and literature every day without even thinking about it. So if you could shoehorn in some philosophy into some of your comedy and make it still entertaining. You know what I mean?
That
Like
is
I
what's
get,
happening,
like you
but it's
kind of
just
need
being
to,
selective,
but
right?
you kind of have to smuggle it in, which is dishonest.
Well, you have to find a packaging that people will accept.
It seems dishonest though, because once you detect what's happening, it's like, oh, he's trying to pull me over to this side.
So hold
sales.
on. You can't. Philosophy is one of those ones you can't really smuggle in. For philosophy to mean anything, you have to get a broad enough range of philosophy. But you have to see through a lot of philosophers' eyes.
The problem
on the same
is, I
topic
wouldn't have
before-
learned those things if it wasn't entertaining. Is what I'm getting at.
Right.
Like,
Because if it's dry and you don't have
yeah,
interest, you
I
won't retain.
didn't read much as a kid, but I read a lot as a kid. You know what I mean? Like I read more than most kids, but I didn't read books.
And this is what I'm talking about. People are getting their education now
Yeah.
by chance instead of purposely,
Yeah.
purposely pursuing good authors of good books or good doctors that give good lectures.
But I'm saying you have to make it entertaining.
Well, I
Most
think you
people
would have
aren't
to have
going to do it.
I would think you would have to have it in a way that
Or
would be-
incentivize it.
but entertaining and incentivized is not how we learn a broad enough spectrum to have good critical thinking skills. and
I
good
agree
judgment.
with you.
I think what
All
he's
I'm saying is it's not likely that people will do it if they're not getting a tangible reward or
I think
Unless-
he's more just talking method of delivery.
yeah.
Right.
Like it's one of those things. You go to a restaurant, you look at a menu. There's lots of different things on the menu. The thing that you like is the thing that you'll go for. It doesn't matter that the other thing is better, right?
But
So
you
it's
could
like if you
smuggle
can-
in some things.
Exactly, because like if you could all of a sudden package, like what he's saying is math is not exactly the thing that he wants to do, but since it was packaged within something that
Yeah.
he did want to
Yeah,
do,
yeah.
he was able to learn via.
And then you go to
osmosis
school
almost.
and it's like, holy crap, my brain is like massive. Like the numbers.
And now people are just learning the best packaged things, which means money wins.
No,
So
certainly.
it is our responsibility
Imagine
to seek
engineering
out a good variety.
A burger and fries at McDonald's that also taught you philosophy
Yeah.
and scientific stuff. Like
Now
anything you
McDonald's controls culture.
want. Sure, but yeah.
That's my problem here. That's my issue.
But like, what I want to say is you have to make it appealing. It has to be appealing, or people aren't buying it.
Okay, so I'll give you an example.
This is the problem.
I'll give you an example of something that can like by. If we don't have
McDonald's
the ability,
controls culture. I like that line. That was
That's
a really
where we're
clever
going.
line.
That's the problem with society. That is my exact point. Is that right now people just consume
It's a
whatever
good
is
point.
packaged best, which means those who
I just don't know how we package
which means
better
entertainers
things.
have more influence over people's understanding
Absolutely
of
they
the
do.
world
Absolutely
than
they
they
do.
ought to.
that's propaganda. That's been that way
But
forever.
like then we need to
always been that way.
incentivize like influencers or celebrities to do better things or teach better lessons.
Okay,
that-
I'll pose you a philosophical question. This only matters to you because you have value
Yes.
with it, right?
Yes.
So what
Well,
about-
no, because I value the future, and I hope we all go
Okay,
there
okay.
together.
But a lot of people actually don't value the future.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't see past the day. Look at Rick.
A lot of
He's
people
eating gas
value
station.
their-
He had a 2-week-old hoagie the other day.
Yeah.
I told him Wednesday, could you please throw that out? You're going to die if you eat that. I tried to throw it out and he wouldn't let me. 2 days later, thankfully, he threw it out. But like I was like, if you eat that, you might die. He ate a 2-day-old Dairy Queen burger from the fridge the other day.
There's
He
nothing-
doesn't care if he
There's
wakes
nothing
up
wrong with
tomorrow.
that health-wise.
Okay,
but
No,
it's-
but like
more
he
sheer
would eat
laziness.
it if he thought it would kill him. Is the point? Like if he thought, oh well, this might take me out, he'd still eat it because he's not thinking about tomorrow. That's why he's broke every day.
So I'll posit 3 different versions of this. Okay, someone that values the future. There's 3 different
Sorry.
people, right? Sitting in a room. 3 different people.
Yeah.
Will represent it. Someone that values the future. Someone that values the present. Someone that values the past. Okay.
Why do I get to be the guy living in the past?
You're on my left.
Because history is majorly important where we are today
Sure.
and where we go in the future.
Nice.
History has taught us
See?
how humans
Future
work
lens.
and what things will fail.
'Kay,
History
so-
has taught us what doesn't work
So
because none of it has.
my question to you is, if we're talking about value systems. Value systems are a difficult thing to control because they are almost entirely through the lens that you look. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I only value coffee because I drink coffee. If I don't have it within my lens, it's hard for me to care about it. Like biologically, it's hard for me to care about it.
It's like I'm drinking tea because it's sitting right there.
It's hard for me to care about whether or not that mug falls off that table.
Push it back there. Right?
So my question to you is like, okay, so you're positing that since you value the future, you want to pursue these things. Totally get it. What I'm saying is you're viewing it as a whole world thing. So if that's the case and you want the whole world to be able to change their value structure to be able to now value the future, because that's what you're asking.
Well, value more tangible information that builds a cloud of knowledge, not just little bullet points.
So what gave you the value of the future?
Being wrong enough fucking times.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means I love to wander around spouting my ridiculous opinions, and when you're wrong enough times, you go, "Oh, where am I missing? Where is that biased bullshit coming
See,
from?
my concern
where is this
there would
crap
be,
coming
like,
from?"
If I've been wrong 9 times in a row, I think I'm right now. I could be wrong
Well,
again.
so usually being
Could
wrong
never be that
creates something
sure.
called humility in that respect.
Yeah, I'm
right?
never
So-
that certain.
Well,
that I'm
and
right.
the
Yeah.
more you learn, the more you know you don't know.
Like, I'll be
so
confident.
you actually gain humility
Yeah.
as you learn more because
Yeah.
you're like, oh wow, I've learned all this, and there's all this I don't know, and it's a big blind spot I didn't realize was there before. When my
Yesterday, I
blind spot was
talking to
bigger.
Kevin, we were talking about posture, and like he's like, "You think I'm just spouting shit?" I'm like, "No, I don't. I'm genuinely. I think I'm probably wrong."
Well, no, I'm.
You know what I mean?
I'm
Like-
just positing theory. I
But
don't
like
have
I'm
it
almost
proven.
always sure someone else has a better opinion.
Yeah.
Like
Then you-
unless it's something I know a lot about.
Yeah.
I'm pretty open to the idea that I'm most likely wrong.
So, but this is okay. So being wrong, I would agree, creates humility, allows you to change
Yeah.
perspective, allows you to grow. Absolutely. So someone who is living in the present and feels that they are right all the time. So you just think that if they're wrong enough and they're able to register their wrongness, they'll be able to move into the future?
No, having such a negative incentivizing force is not what I recommend for anyone.
Fair.
I want to set up
Okay.
a light at the end of the tunnel and say, hey, are you pissed and confused about these things? Look, there are 2 biased camps. We take a lot of recent events, for example, and say, wow, there's 2 distinctly different ways to look at this that are making modern citizens enemies of each other.
Mm-hmm.
The more context they build, the
just
better they understand each other
Mm-hmm.
and are less at war and more trying to find a middle ground.
And I would argue that the 2 camps are not Republican, Democrat.
No, God, no.
They're past and future. And then the
Yeah, there's
vast majority
regressive-
of people,
regressive and progressive.
I
Yeah.
would honestly,
But
it's one of those because when you're looking at the value structures of the people that are hardline left or hardline right, they're almost always pointed in one direction or the other. in terms of
regressive versus
time.
progressive.
And yeah, exactly.
The
Well,
kid-
it is
the kid-
literally described as conservatism or
Is
progressive.
that why you think that whole left thing happens?
Yeah.
Where like certain people only want to get so far.
Well, okay, so
and then they
when
get
you're
older.
when you're in the future camp, right? That you're only worried about this,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden you start seeing how that's hurting those that are in the present. Then all of a sudden it can drift you further away from the left, which would be in the
this
middle.
is it. Like you're left in your 20s or whatever, and then left gets to a point where you wanted it, and then it keeps going because that's what it does.
I'll give you an example. Electric cars. Okay.
Yeah.
Say future needs this, even though I don't. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that. But
Yeah,
say,
that's a whole different
Say all of a
topic.
sudden we need
Yeah.
to stop
We don't wanna open
gasoline.
up that one.
The future person could look at that and go, "We need to ban cars," and then the whole world dies.
Yeah.
So it's one of those, like, the blind future is not the path.
But if
It
the
has
future
to be
person watched a lecture about how the economy works, they would know that's not the answer.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying blind, right?
I'm just-
because, like, even in what you said in terms of caring about the future, you said valuing the past is included within that lens.
Oh, dear God, yes.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
Anytime though you start going one way too far
yeah, you're fucked.
without
Yeah.
reason, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Like
And
you
that
can
includes
boil
the
it
middle.
down to boil that down to personal
Yeah.
too. Like I see it all the time. Just to reel it into my wheelhouse, I see it with people with like tattoos and piercings and stuff, where they almost they indulge too much in their one. They don't have the real world to balance it with anymore. They kind of go into their own thing and they become the Black Alien Project or the whatever else. That's not a shot at him,
No,
but
no.
that's pure indulgence.
Yeah.
That's pure indulgence in his dogma and his stance on life and his everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing outside of his view influencing. Like there might be, but like it's
not
very,
within the realm of change for him.
It's very like
It
I've
is
gone
his.
off the deep end into my subsection.
Pure ego.
Right. That's
in like that version of his ego.
whereas like if you keep a foot over there but keep looking out at what else is happening, you go, okay, I can keep myself balanced, I think. And that's what I've tried to do.
But that's where, like, I think the thing that I get confused about.
The bird needs two wings to fly is what I'm trying to say. Is you get too far left, I do think you need to fly a little right for a while.
For example,
But
now this is a political rant, so I'm going to keep it super short.
that's fine.
But I really wish that I could vote for a government that wouldn't put us crazy in debt, but also not take away women's rights.
Yeah.
That I really
Yeah,
wish
I
that
hear
for
ya.
all of
Yeah,
us.
I hear ya.
I've always
a
thought that, like,
financially responsible government,
Fiscally conservative, socially liberal.
Yeah,
that would be fucking great.
That would be amazing.
Why the
That's
fuck
been
can't
me
that
for the last
exist?
15 years.
Dear
That's-
God.
If we could just have a socially liberal government that was held accountable by people that care about dollars and cents, you're
What
talking about a government that would fucking win.
What about a government that doesn't run on a huge deficit
Is
that
that
also
not,
doesn't
like,
rape the
libertarian?
land? No,
no,
dear
no,
God.
no.
Libertarian is a structure that those things could exist in.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
libertarian is a structure that will almost certainly lead to giant corporations owning us as slaves.
I think it'd more than. Yeah, you're
don't
not
want
wrong.
that.
the more history you watch, the more true that statement
Yeah.
becomes.
I
But-
think you'd be more likely to get the result that we're talking about from a left-leaning person that all of a sudden started to value like the how
Would
things.
you
are
call
run.
that like an old school Democrat?
Sure,
Like
you
a Bill
could.
Maher type thing?
You could, yeah. I mean,
Like,
but at the same
you do
time,
you, I'll do me, we
yeah,
don't
but
intervene.
his is like no. Well, but you have to have intervention.
I know
within
you do.
within the people
At
that
some
are
level, yeah.
No, within for the people that are requesting it. Mm-hmm. Like that's really what it boils down to. Like you have to be able to pay for systems to be put into place for people that need them, and that would be the well-rounded version of it. Libertarian is more like no systems, thank
Yeah.
you very much, but
Yeah.
do whatever you want if you can afford it.
But meanwhile, human history has taught us that people always act in their best interests for them personally.
All of a sudden, the
And
roads
it-
are crumbling.
Yeah, it does. It
I don't
does.
drive on that road.
It doesn't just magically
Hey
work.
man, I've been there
Exactly.
before.
Exactly.
Some of these belligerent rants where there's city work going on forever, and I'm like, I don't even use this road.
Yeah.
Why am I paying for this?
Oh, I was grumpy about the potted plants until I'm walking around looking at flowers every day, and I'm like, man, these potted plants are really
Yeah.
nice. This is really nice.
Yeah.
Some of those tax dollars are for the best.
Yeah.
eh?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's for me that the tricky part with that is always where the line is drawn.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what we've been fighting about forever.
Yeah.
Of course.
That drawing of that line and who gets to do it and how firm they get to do it is like, ugh, it's gross.
Yeah, it's a real tough nut to crack. for
That's
sure.
why I still am Mr. Psychedelics. I just think, like, if you're going to go into
You're a little
place-
extra heavy on that this time.
Well, I've been...
He's got to make up for lost
I've been
ground,
bottling it
man.
up,
Yeah.
I've been bottling it up. We haven't done this for a minute. But, like, okay, so I view psychedelics as, like, a cold water that you're jumping into. Like if you're really like narrowly focused, and then all of a sudden you get that like whoa, and you can see the world. That's, I think, more what the purpose that is served with a psychedelic experience. It's just to shock the shit out of you because you're so in your own world.
It's the snow globe effect.
Yeah.
So how does it work? Like microdosing?
Well,
Like, does it-
microdosing's a little bit different.
So
It's
just-
you take drugs on weekdays.
Yeah. No, I
Hell
get,
yeah.
I know the idea, but like, I would think that there would be a point where your body would kind of get used to it. And
Yeah.
it wouldn't,
Oh
you
yeah,
know,
you build a major
I
tolerance.
got to a place where
oversaturated.
I felt fully saturated. I felt microdosed.
You are the mushroom.
And I didn't. Yeah, legit. I
Hi,
didn't
my
get
name is
any-
Kevin, and I'm a mushroom.
Because like that is how neuroplasticity works. Like you get to a point where it is placid, and you can just be there, and then you stop, and it will let your brain start doing the hardening thing that you will do. And so, like for me, I had taken like 6-7 months off of doing that.
Yeah, I was going to say diminishing returns have to set in.
And then I tried it the other day, and it was like super beneficial. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, my brain is ready for this again.
You could even go like a week on, month off, week on, month
Oh, yeah,
off,
yeah.
and then I would just like that. It would change something.
Yeah,
it may
I
not
would
be.
agree.
It's not for everyone.
No.
You know, first disclaimer: psychedelics not
Yeah,
for
do
everyone.
Yep. Do
Yep,
your
learn
own
about it
homework.
first.
We're not
Don't
telling
just-
you to do anything, even though
Don't
I
just
did
eat that shit that guy
even though
gave
I
you.
did implicitly say, as a society, we need to do it on a whole shot.
Yeah, make
but-
a habit of not eating the shit that guy gave you.
Yeah,
Yes.
legit.
Especially,
But-
you don't know who that guy is.
That's the microdosing side of things. Is yes, there is a point where you're saturated, and I do think that everybody's going to be different, and I do think that yes, you have to. We this is one of the big problems with the healthcare system right now is they will shy away from this because we haven't done all the due diligence of exactly what I'm talking about. Like I was my own little case study. You know what I mean?
good
And this
to
is
do that.
only for me, but like. I can say it for me, but you can't trust that it's the same for you by any stretch because you're different. You're not me.
How long did it take for you to be saturated? How long until Kevin was a mushroom?
It's a good question. So it
I'm
was
just
first,
picturing him now as a mushroom with a mouth. I'm just
it was first
Alan
like
the
We can make him a hat.
Like I was doing it every day rather than giving myself breaks, and then I started giving myself breaks, where it's like you go for 4 days and then you take 2 or something like that.
yeah.
But no, it was a few months, and then like probably 6-7 months of it, and then it was just one of those like I think I'm good. You know?
Yeah, it's got to be like any chemical, right? Like if you need a higher dose all of a sudden to get the same return.
Never needed a higher dose.
No.
No, I never would engage in a higher dose. Like I mean, if it,
Not in a
Could
work
you
day.
Not
get
on a
your
work day, no.
tolerance to a point where like all of a sudden what would be a trip to someone else would be
Absolutely, you can.
yeah,
Yes.
it's sitting right there every day.
Yeah, you sure can.
If I microdosed what he took, I'd be like, whoa, man, what are we doing?
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering. Like,
Like
what,
maybe not 3.5 gram
So we did
trips
the
every
mushroom.
day, but you go to a gram a day, no problem.
Everybody's liver is different.
we did the psychedelics podcast,
Yeah.
right? Could you get to a place where whatever the hell, I don't know what Scott and I had.
We only had a gram or gram and a
Yeah,
half.
but I don't know, right? This is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden that's just the usual.
Yeah, you could, but I don't think you would get there the same way that you think you're going to get there, because like one of the joys of mushrooms is this neuroplasticity thing. So it's allowing you to kind of one of the things that psychedelics look to be a very helpful thing for is to make other drugs more effective if you're
Yeah, I
resetting
know.
your brain, right?
Yeah, I've heard that argument that it could make some things potentially worse too,
Oh,
though.
100%. Yeah, because if you take the same dose of something else, like that's going to be a bad time.
Yeah.
But like, no, drug mixing is not good. But if you were to make it so like, okay, so say you're one of those guys that takes
Disclaimer.
ibuprofen. You're
Yeah.
one of those guys that takes ibuprofen and it's like, oh, I take 1. Oh, I take 2. Oh, I take 4. And it really doesn't help you. Yeah, you've depressed that thing too
Yeah,
much.
exactly.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you're at a point where
Diminishing returns.
Yes. So like the big bad one of that would be like ibogaine. If you take that, all of a sudden all your shit resets and you're like a fresh
What
baby boy
about-
again.
What about mental diminishing returns? Let me give you a little precursor of what I mean. So like
I think I'm getting dumber.
no, so like
I feel that way
let's say
sometimes.
I mean,
I
am.
get tattooed a couple times a week, usually.
Yes.
Okay, it doesn't make a difference. Like I just got my palm tattooed the other day again, and I've already forgotten about it. It didn't even faze me. I was up and working like
Dementia.
20 minutes late. So like that would have been a harrowing experience for someone.
Yes.
Right? But mentally you can callous to that.
Yeah, of course.
So can that happen with this where you don't even care or notice anymore
Well,
because you
so-
do it so often?
Yeah. So
Well, that's also alcohol,
yeah.
right?
Okay, so yes,
But, like, that
that's
could-
because you know what's coming, right? Like it's
Yeah.
the same thing for you. Like you know what tattooing your nipple feels like. So when it happens, you're like, "Oh, this is me getting my nipple tattooed." For someone who doesn't know, and they
Is
get their
there
nipple
a
tattooed,
point of danger there, though?
it's experience with anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Like it because all of a sudden, if you start treating things flippantly because you're you're moving into an area where you have too much experience with something and you lose respect for it, yeah, that's bad. Losing respect for anything that is doing what those types of things are doing, that's not good.
I'm guilty of that on a high level with anything regarding like pain. Anything.
Sure.
Any kind of pain. It doesn't even matter what it is anymore. Like anytime I feel any kind of pain, it's like I have no respect for this. In fact, I get a little
I
mad
would say
at
that's unhealthy because it'll probably put you in the hospital. One day.
yeah, but I've talked to you about this. Like, there's times when I'll be in some type of pain, and I'm more annoyed with my body. Like it's some chore to be experiencing this. It's not like, oh, I'm concerned. What would this be? It's fuck off. What are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? Can you grow the fuck up?
So pain is information.